You can hear me? Hello. I am semi-human, largely back, more human than a MAGA could ever be. So it's a start. I brought my friend David Schuster here. Oh, look at that. Sue, right away with the super sticker. Thank you. As you probably all know, I have been suffering under the weight of a really crappy flu. And you don't want this thing. I started getting it last Wednesday, like sort of Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and by Wednesday afternoon, I was just, whoa, this thing takes you apart. I think it's the worst one in about a decade. So I felt like, how could I have some sort of camaraderie in this? And I thought, well, maybe I'll find a way to give my friend David Schuster shingles, and he'll be really screwed up too. And then we can both come on here together, and I can cough my way through this, and David can do whatever he needs to do as I add him to the stage. Both of us, man, I think it has to be a conspiracy, David. I don't know.
Well, I'll just say, Cliff, that you and all the viewers are lucky that I put on a little makeup over these like lesions that developed on my forehead and on my scalp about 5 or 6 days ago, because it is nasty. And they just look, they look bad, but the worst thing is like the pain. And for anybody who doesn't know anything about shingles, if you've had the chicken pox, then that sort of virus lives in you for like the rest of your life. And I suppose sometimes it can just come out again as shingles, which is incredibly sort of tense pain that goes along your sort of nerves. And my doctor said, well, it could be triggered by stress. And I thought, what has been stressful in my
What would
life?
it be that would stress you out lately?
It's Donald Trump's fault that I got shingles. And so
that's
so
it.
here I
He
am.
causes diseases even when he's not purposely causing diseases.
Well, and I can trace it back because I started having the symptoms of shingles 2 days after Donald Trump's meeting with Zelensky. And I was so horrified, Cliff, by that White House meeting. It was the first time in my career where I couldn't write, I couldn't report because I was just so disgusted. And I said to colleagues, you guys handle this. I'm just not in a place where I can even.
I know you called me and you were so angry, and I was like, I've got to see it now, and that's how I knew how bad it was going to be.
Yeah, and so then a couple days later, I start having these sort of lesions, and I start having these really bad headaches. I go to the doctor, and the doctor looks at me and says, "All right, you either need to go to the ER immediately, or you need to go see an ophthalmologist because this is getting really close to your eye." And if the shingle gets, that nerve ending gets into your optic nerve, you can start to lose your vision. I go to the ophthalmologist. It's not in your cornea, but they pour like this battery acid in my eyes so they can, and then you look at the light so they can sort of see what's going on. It was horrible. So for a couple of days of last week, Cliff, I don't know who was worse. I think you sounded like you were just down for the count. I was just sort of in pain, although I could sort of walk around a little bit. And I know that neither of us are like up to even 60%, but
no,
you lift me up, Cliff, and then there goes my phone. Anytime I have an opportunity,
I lift your phone up too. Clearly,
anytime I have an opportunity to be on with you, that makes me feel better. So
you're awesome. You're helping me get through this. Tony said he'd come by to help me. I'll tell you all. Yeah, I mean, again, I felt bad, and I do feel bad because you guys are awesome, and you're here all the time, and you're such like a great community. And that's not. Yes, I wouldn't be here otherwise. There are people, they've said on average, this is the worst one, I think, worst flu strain in about 9 years, they've said. People tend to be, some people have been in bed 2 weeks. Wow. For me, as I said, I started feeling stuff in my chest last Thursday night or Tuesday night. I came in Wednesday morning and I was just sort of, I felt not great and whatever. And it took a couple hours. And by around noon or 1, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this live stream because I can't even stay here. My head was just throbbing. I started getting cold chills, the whole thing. And like, you're almost like an out of body experience. You're like sweating and it's just awful. I went to the doctor and they took it. They're like, yep, you have the flu. And it's bad. And it's so get home, they gave me some Tamiflu, which I took the first couple of days. I'm sure that helped. But honestly, from about Wednesday afternoon when I went home through Sunday morning, like I don't know if I was out of bed almost. Like I had to make one run to go get medicine or something. Like I do, I'd go down to the first floor of our house, so the second floor of my room is to like get food, like stuff like that. But otherwise, and I went to the doctor and I went to get Tamiflu. Otherwise, it was like I can't, I couldn't think straight. Like I had this Substack I wanted to write that's gotten pushed back 2 or 3 days that I'm trying to finish up. This, stuff, I was like, I knew there's I was hoping I'd be able to do something today, but I knew I wouldn't be able to do anything yesterday. In any guest stuff or whatever. So whatever, I made it here, and you guys are cool. Hopefully,
And I got something, Cliff. I got something that's going to make you feel better. Okay, as terrible as you feel, and as run down, at least you have not lost $140 billion in net worth in just a couple of months.
and now I know where you're headed. Do you know, so that's what the Substack is on. You'll all have to check it out. I'll share it when I'm done, and hopefully you're subscribed there. But it's all on, Elon Musk has honestly had one of the worst weeks or months. I've got in a little graph. So you've got lost 140 billion. I got the little graph in there of Tesla stock being down 41.55% in a month. And I'm going to be honest with you guys right now. I stole a bunch of things to share with, in the Substack and here from a guy named David Schuster, because he did this great video on it. And when I checked it out, and so any of you who know the stories about the Ford Pinto in the 70s that led to a lot of our car safety improvements, because somebody would rear end it, it would blow up. Right now, they're saying there's 17 times more fire fatalities in the Cybertruck than the frickin' Ford Pinto, which is infamous, that case. Tesla sales are down 63% in France and 60% in Germany. The two, I think they are the two largest car markets, in Europe. The stock price is obviously cratered. But I mean, I have to keep thinking because there's more. The French president, what do you refer to? The French senator. One of the French senators got up and referred to him as a jester high on ketamine, which I loved. That guy gets points. We'll feature him in our takedown segment here at some point. The French takedown. Well, I'll translate for all of you. Sam Altman mocked him for trying to buy OpenAI. I mean, it's just been a week of everything just imploding. I had the whole list here in this Substack. Oh, Tony's there. Let me let Tony in here.
Tony!
Hello. How are you?
Tony!
So Tesla's tanking, you say?
It's doing worse than me and David right now with shingles and flu, and that's pretty bad, man.
And I saw this morning that now Tesla is the worst performing stock in the S&P 500. The worst. That it's down seven. It's down 7 straight weeks. It's back to before its numbers in December. But the worst stock in the S&P 500, which says something.
It couldn't have happened to a better guy. It couldn't have happened to a better guy. Really could.
Yeah, I mean, again, I put these bullet points in the Substack that I've almost sent out that I'm writing, and it went into a bunch of things, but and we may have covered most of it already. Oh yeah, no, I forgot one of them. So it turns out all of his self-driving cars the technology keeps going wrong and they keep crashing. So that's also that is also harming the Tesla stock price. Twitter went down a number of times yesterday, and people could not get on. I mean, I mentioned the numbers in Europe, which are horrific. They're way down in California, by far our biggest EV market. I even put the nice little chart in here to show the negative 41.55% for the past month.
Even though sales in California of EVs, sales in Europe, sales in Asia of EVs are up. So at a time when anybody who makes an electric vehicle should be, doing better, more and more people are buying the competitors, and Elon Musk is going down.
So I got one better, Cliff. Yeah. If you look down, there's a little clip there. You can see Elon's face. Add that to the to the broadcast. I want to show you guys something. This is pump this into my veins. This is Elon Musk almost crying. He almost sheds tears.
Oh,
when Larry Kudlow asked him about his tanking businesses. Check this out.
Call to action. You're hearing a call to action.
Yeah.
You giving up your other stuff? I mean, how are you running your other businesses?
With great difficulty. Yeah, I mean.
Oh
no! There's
no
turning back. You're saying.
I'm just here trying to make government more efficient, eliminate waste and fraud, and so far we're making good progress.
Yeah,
He's
progress
making
if you believe him. If you believe him, and yet his billions and billions of dollars that he says he's saved, he has no proof for it. In fact, independent watchdog groups say it doesn't exist. I will say that when I saw that clip, I mean, you guys tell me what you think, but I did sort of feel sorry for him in the moment. I'm like, oh yeah, it is kind of sad that people are burning Teslas and committing vandalism, which should never happen. And yeah, he is. It does seem like he's sincere about trying to make America better and save the taxpayers' money. And so for a moment, I felt kind of sad. And then I saw his latest controversy where he called Mark Kelly, who went to Ukraine and talked about what was going on in the war and said that Ukraine deserves continued U.S. support. And there's Elon Musk writing on Twitter calling Mark Kelly a traitor. And the moment I saw that, I was like, I have no sympathy for this guy whatsoever. He can burn in hell.
And that's why I can't muster any sympathy for him. The worst, imagine, and I won't say anything out loud because I'll get like banned from YouTube. But imagine the worst thing you can imagine happening to him. And like I would sit there and watch it in glee. I mean, that is how much I literally hate the man. He has so little sympathy or understanding of anybody else. And the fact that he got this far, essentially stealing other people's ideas and pushing people out and all the ways he's gotten ahead. And then every time I am stuck seeing him have to talk like that, okay, he maybe sounds sad in that one, but like I saw some other interview where he's talking like he can't even communicate like a normal human being. Yeah. I want to just be like, are you a toddler?
Well,
he can't even interact with people.
My comment to this clip was, is this little bitch about to cry? Elon needs to pull himself up by the bootstraps like the rest of us who are experiencing discomfort. I'm tired of this MFer. I mean, I think most of the world is. All you got to do is click off that cliff to pull us back to regular screen. I think I really do believe that this is a case where Elon, in the same interview, he talked about how he was going to eliminate, and he uses the word eliminate.
Yes.
Social Security and Medicare. Now, he won't say Social Security and Medicare out loud. He says entitlements, which these are not entitlements. These are earned benefits that people pay into. We pay taxes on our labor to make sure we have retirement in the future. It is taxes that we pay so that we get money for our retirement. But what he doesn't understand is that these Social Security checks, most people cannot live off these things. It is really meant for supplement in retirement. But we're in a situation where there's a lot of Americans who do have to live off their Social Security check, and he has no clue that the average person on Social Security receives $62 a day. $62 a day. Elon Musk, I think the estimate,
he probably makes like $62,000 a minute or something.
Right. Well, I actually think the amount of government money that he receives in a day is like $3 million or $8 million a day. That's how much he receives of our government money for his businesses. And he's sitting there crying because his businesses are suffering because he's hiling Hitler and he's making comments like he did to Mark Kelly
and breaking into the Treasury Department, know, small things,
right? Just little things that are affecting his businesses, and he's crying about it. All in the same interview when he's talking about stripping away $62 a day away from grandma, because he thinks in his mind, I believe he thinks $62. Well, what's the point? What's the point? Even $62, that's nothing. What's the point? And that's how much he actually he cares and has any kind of sympathy for anyone who would have to live off $62 a day.
And the irony is, in some ways, I sort of feel like this is yet another missed opportunity, because clearly Elon Musk, he's got some, business savvy, and he's got sort of, he's a smart guy, and he thinks about things very differently. And I sort of imagine, well, what if Donald Trump had said at the beginning, I'm going to have Elon Musk and his team, and they're going to do an audit like there's never been an audit done before. And we're going to come up with an agency by agency report, and we're going to make some recommendations, and then Congress is going to vote. I think most of us would have said, great, let's have at it. Let's have an audit over waste, fraud, and abuse, and let's figure out where the line-by-line money is actually going, and let's have a debate over every agency. I think most Americans would have welcomed that. Of course, we want our taxpayer dollars to be used more efficiently and to cut down on waste, fraud, and abuse. But to do what they have done and to just sort of willy-nilly fire people themselves, bypass Congress because they know they probably don't have the votes. It's despicable. And so they've taken what could have been an opportunity to actually, yes, make our government more efficient, which we all want, and they've turned it into something that is horrific. It's like it's a monster. And we're just, thank God the courts are like destroying it.
Are stopping it. Well, you know, look, I look at it as this: is it's fruit of the poison tree in the end, which is when you start off, leadership always comes from the top in any organization. Culture comes from that, and how people behave, how they treat each other, how they respect each other, if they're honest or not. And in Donald Trump, somebody who, I mean, again, like I think there's a joke once on Seinfeld about George Costanza possessing every bad trait that a man could have. And Donald Trump literally possesses, I mean, he's every deadly sin. He's every, you know, he's not, I'm not sure he's even human. He's a grotesque creature who, so your point is right, David. And in fact, you and I, at least, Tony, maybe a bit of a youngin', but you and I go far enough to remember the Clinton-Gore initiative, Reinventing Government, where they did do it like that. And they did actually cut some government, but they didn't sit there and just show up at people's doors and be like, you're fired. You know, they sat there and looked at where there was waste, because inevitably, as a government grows, there will be places that like there's a fight between people who are saying there's no wasted fraud and abuse, and people are saying there is. It's just that it's a fight right now. It's that there are some of us who would love to see what you're talking about, David. It's just that kind of an audit could never be done by Elon Musk, and it could never be done by Donald Trump, because right away they'd have to start with themselves. Right. Why does Elon Musk why isn't NASA doing what SpaceX is doing? Why are we paying them for their SpaceX Starship to fricking blow up 3 days ago? Why is NASA on that? Why are we paying him? You know, I mean, that to me seems like a huge inefficiency and waste, fraud, and abuse. And I'm sure there's plenty more. And then there's Donald Trump, who, like, you know, finds excuses to put charges on the public dime when he has to go fly back to Mar-a-Lago or go somewhere else, or makes troops or whoever stay at his places. I mean, the waste, fraud, and abuse would have to start with them, because they are it. And that's the problem. If we had honest brokers, I'm sure there's plenty of, look, the military doesn't need $850 billion. Okay. Our military budget's ridiculous. But you know, these guys aren't going to touch any of that unless it's stuff that's like foreign aid and that kind of thing.
You want to know what's going in the tank today? The stock market. It's over the last month, it's down 3,000 points, 7%. So that's going down. So our government spending doesn't seem to be going down, but our stock market does.
Right.
So
which means we're in the red. We're in the red since Donald Trump took office. We're in the red. Our market has lost value, and yet markets in Europe and Asia have all gained value since Donald Trump. Even Spain is beating us in the stock market. Spain? Hey, I got to drop because I have to go to this doctor's appointment in just a minute, but I want to find out because, you know, Tony, Cliff and I were talking about our various maladies and afflictions at the top. How are you feeling these days? How are you doing? Are you healthy?
I'm doing fantastic. I do have a bit of a rash, but, you know, I've always had that rash in that spot, so I think I'm okay.
Oh, well, herpes, you know, that could be helped.
Could be chicken pox. Just saying.
I got this burning sensation when I pee, David. Is that a problem?
That's not my rash.
Oh, okay. All right.
I got the shingles rash. I'll let you guys continue. Hey, Tony, great to see you as always, my friend.
Yes, and you Cliff, too, David.
Great to be on with you. We'll do it again soon. Feel better, everybody.
Just for you being here when you've got this. It was very kind of you, man. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care. We'll talk soon.
See ya.
It's like we should have batons to hand off here.
He really regretted that decision to ask me that as soon as I started to open.
You'll understand who you are soon enough. We just need to get to know you a little bit better, not to walk into those kinds of traps.
It's like, oh, Tony's going to talk about how he's got venereal disease on a live stream. Surely he won't do that.
Tony's untreated syphilis has become a real problem. Oh man, I laugh and it hurts.
Yeah, well. So how are you doing? I know over the weekend you felt like death. I didn't even hardly communicate at all over the weekend because you were on your deathbed. So
yeah, I mean, you know, this is the best way I could say it to people: if you got COVID, which I did, I got all my vaccines and everything, and you know, now I just got myself demonetized on YouTube, but. Hey, fuck you guys.
Because you said words out loud. That's
I know. I said words about real things out loud. in the near future, folks, when at least one of these will be moved over to Substack, we won't have that problem. But we'll talk about that in the future. So I mean, and this is worse for me, right? Like there's no doubt this is worse than that was. I had like 2 days where I was really bad, and I think by like the 4th or 5th day I was back up and I was almost fine. Here I had 3 to 4 horrible days, and then 2 days after that were pretty bad, and now we're at today, and I think I'm like 60-70% better. But if you've heard me coughing, and I mean, there's still the problem is when you have crap in your lungs and all of that, oxygen levels and whatever, just walking around is tiring, right? Talking a lot is tiring, which is again why I was trying to prepare you guys. I would say the outer limit of this show today is 3 p.m. Eastern. And I'm not sure I'll make it that far. I wanted to be here because, again, you guys are an amazing audience and you're supportive. And I felt bad that I didn't do 2 of these last week and then the week before because of that huge Substack launch, the 12-hour one, which maybe is what has me here to begin with. I don't know. I hadn't, I'd missed some. And so I wanted to do it, do at least something today. And with all the Elon Musk news, come on and talk about that. But just warning you right away that, there's any way I'm getting through the rest of this week, I probably will not be long for this particular broadcast. But whatever, Tony, it is what it is. Like I look at it, it's kind of like the stuff you brought up earlier and whatever, which is, think about the people that are sitting there as Elon Musk flippantly talks about getting rid of quote unquote entitlements, and they're sitting there and they're saying to themselves, like, I won't be able to eat. So like I can survive this. I'll be okay. This sucks and I hate it. But like, it's easy to be brought right back to reality beyond your own situation when you take a look at, what's going on and the kinds of programs they're threatening and the people already who've lost their jobs and don't know how they're going to pay the rent or the mortgage or whatever because they thought they had good government jobs and with zero warning. I mean, again, in the most sort of cruel and obnoxious and just callous way possible. It's bad enough they're actually doing all of this, but the way they do it makes it even worse. Like you get an email, which is like, hey, you're fired. I mean, they're such assholes. It's unbelievable.
So it gets even better. So the stock market is crashing, right? We don't have and MAGA's really mad about this.
Yes, to be clear to people asking, I do not have COVID. I said it again. There we go. The bad word. I don't care. But I have the flu. So, and it's a really bad flu this year. So get your flu shot because even if you still get it, it won't be as bad. Okay, go ahead.
Do you know who Evan Kilgore is? He's a right-wing commentator.
I don't think I do. You're so much like more. You're more. What's the right words? Where to put it? You're much more educated. Let's say. Unlike that yes. Second and third tier class of like right-wing nutballs which is smart because you find great clips there. Because
what they do is they use that second and third. It is a turd tier. They use that second and third tier to float their ideas to see which ones are acceptable within the Overton window. But Evan Kilgore, he was a big Trump supporter, I believe. I'm pretty sure. But he's complaining on Twitter just within the last 15 hours. He says Trump's trying to get rid of Thomas Massie. We don't have the Epstein files. ICE stopped posting daily deportations. We're talking about taking over Gaza. Trump's cabinet is focused on condemning anti-Semitism, and this is not what I was promised. MAGA's starting to get
promised they would condemn anti-Semitism. That's
right.
Awesome.
Again, these are my audience always likes when I say they like to blame the Jews. Like that's how they like every time something goes wrong, they're like, "Oh, it was the Jews."
I know it's kind of
you got to do the jazz hands with it. These aren't jazz hands; these are Jew hands. Jews.
Listen, I've always taken all the power they'll give me.
At least you would welcome it,
economy,
right?
The legal establishment, media, everything you guys want to hand over to me, I've taken.
Right.
I want to say quickly, and then we'll get back to that. I did get a flu shot. Everybody should. That's why I highlighted that. And it's still there's one of two possibilities. One, I just got screwed, and even though I got one, I still got this bad, but it could have been much worse, which is scary to think about. And two is the fact that there are two different strains out there apparently. So you don't, you can get a flu shot, and I'm just saying, if there's anything they're willing to stick in your arm out there, get it.
What about Elon's brain chip? Should you get that?
Not that. No.
Oh, okay.
Don't go near.
I just want to make sure. But the long and the short of it is that MAGA is getting kind of upset. One of the reasons why is because Trump actually just posted this on True Social an hour ago. He says, Congressman, and he puts it in quotes, Congressman Thomas Massie voted to delay the debt ceiling bill from the Biden administration to the Trump administration from September before the election to June after the election without getting anything for this horrendous, stupid move. And basically what he wants to do is he wants to primary Massie. Well,
I love Trump and Massie fighting, by the way, because Massie is core crazy, like paranoid libertarian, not even libertarian is not even the right word, like anarchist, kind of like Rand Paul, that wing of
it's like MAGA OG. It's like right. MAGA OG. MAGA before MAGA was MAGA.
I love those two fighting with each other.
Well, the other thing that to me about this that actually is really good is that Trump is not hardly he's not even 100 days into his administration, and he is already telling us about the midterms and about how the midterms is where we're going to change the country. Like he's already signaling that, which is, I can't even tell you how ridiculous this guy is. Like he slips into these phases where he thinks tariffs are going to make America rich and economically sound, but then he's fighting not with Democrats over midterms. He's fighting with one of the most conservatives, or the most conservative members in his caucus.
Right.
Who just because Thomas Massie thinks he's a buffoon, because I think that's the only disagreement that Thomas Massie actually has with him.
I was going to ask you,
Massie an idiot.
Insulted him like personally? Is that how it started?
Well, let me go back to the Twitter machine here.
36. I saw Massie, because they fly into Cincinnati Airport and then cross the bridge down to Kentucky. I saw Massie in the airport once. No, before I could get up the escalator to where he was gone, because I wanted after he took that picture. The Addams family picture with the assault rifles in front of the Christmas tree. I wanted to just tell him what a hunk of shit he was. But
I guess recently Thomas Massie lost his wife too. I'm not really sure what that means. I don't know. I don't know.
I have no sympathy for him.
I don't either.
Be honest, people. Just so everybody gets it, who doesn't know this stuff as well as you and I, Tony. You can have two people fighting each other and actually hate both of them and think they're both awful and hope that they both successfully crush each other. You don't have to take a side. Massie is an awful human being in every way.
So several hours ago, Tony Gonzalez, he's a congressman from Texas. He's a Republican congressman. He's the one who attacked Matt Gaetz when Matt Gaetz was going through the
He's one of the five that sort of cosplays as center right and votes for something intelligent every once in a while,
right?
And then goes back to being an idiot.
Don't give him too much credit.
As I said,
I'm just kidding. Wolf Blitzer about 3 hours ago asked Tony Gonzalez this question: Is it appropriate for President Trump to threaten a Republican Congressman Thomas Massie with the primary if he votes against the CR, which is the continuing resolution to keep the government open? I actually think we should shut Trump's government down. So I'm kind of weirdly on the side of Thomas Massie here. But Tony Gonzalez.
I'm too. In that way, I hate people the people who won't be able to work and all of that. But I think any way from getting up, which many more people should have done, like Al Green did, and protesting and yelling at him and being forced to leave or walking out, which a few folks did, or any way to show protest to these guys and slow them down. And take the power or the baton of power out of their hand. Exactly.
Because with the government closed and them kind of handcuffed to the inability to keep the government open, that really does make it difficult for them to operate. But Tony Gonzalez responded to Wolf Blitzer's question with hell yes. He says that it is appropriate.
It is appropriate.
It is appropriate, is what Tony Gonzalez is saying. Now, Thomas Massie tweeted 39 minutes ago Let me see if I got
Oh,
this.
cool. Maybe they'll go after each other too.
Right. Well, hey, this is what I'm saying is that they're gonna start eating their own. It's all leprosy here. Thomas Massey tweeted 39 minutes ago. He said POTUS, referring to Donald Trump, he didn't even say Trump's name, which is fucking hilarious. He said POTUS is spending his day attacking me and Canada. He roped Canada in with it, and he said the difference is Canada will eventually cave, and he laughed. That's what Thomas Massey said to.
Well, that's fun, but he's actually wrong about that too.
Well, I mean, Thomas Massey is correct. He's kind of like a broken clock. He's correct every once in a while.
Again, like what I said about Tony Gonzalez. I mean, you can find something these guys have voted for that's good. All of them, half the time, it's accidental and for completely different reasons than you or I would support it. But you can find something good with all of it. But I'm just laughing because, again, like basically all that's happened here with lumber, and this will shock you. I was watching this whole thing about it, is that we started apparently increasing our lumber imports from Russia, because that's a real shocker that we would do that instead of Canada. Almost like we wanted to find a way around sanctions. Or now, this is something I was watching. I don't know if it's true or not. What I do know, obviously, is they're a big provider, Canada, of lumber, and they have some of the best in the world. And we are. And Donald Trump's response is, "We'll just grow more trees." And I mean, like he's just
right. Well, the reason why Canada is so good at lumber is because they are at the world's pinnacle of forestry. Like they've always been really good at conservation. It also helps when you have a land mass bigger than that of the United States. Right.
There's only like 40 to 50 million people living there.
Right. I mean, and to be fair, we have a huge landmass that has a lot of lumber on it, but most of that is protected under national forest. And we kind of go through periods up and down where we're good at conservation, we're good at forestry, and then we have buffoons like this take over, and we're not good at it at all because we will let private corporations just come in and rape and pillage.
But the point is, it's not even necessary because we're able to get what we need at a fair price from Canada when we're not starting pointless fights because we pooped our diaper and feel a need to feel tough about ourselves that day. So we're going to pick a fight because we know that our wife is more attracted to Justin Trudeau by a lot. I mean, like, it's like that. Again, this guy was never.
Wait, he's got a wife? There's a first lady?
She's getting away somewhere with Barron.
Where is she? Where's Melania?
Still growing. He's like 7'6" now.
Where's Melania? Where is she?
I mean, it's a good question. But like, the whole thing is that, again, it gets exhausting even talking about all of it, because it gets exhausting in general because I'm exhausted. But we've been through all of this. I had these conversations with the people I knew in my life who are, quote, business Republicans, who would say, "Oh, well, I'm not in favor of Trump, but he has the right business positions." No, he doesn't. And he has the Republican sort of position on this and that. I'm like, you guys for years were for free trade and anti-tariff and all this other stuff. And not only does he not have your positions, but if you're been a business person, you understand that stability, lack of whimsical idiocy from the president would keep markets moving in the right direction. Rule of law, being able to rely on facts still being facts, being able to rely on science still being science, being able to rely on the fact that if something makes sense, the president will do it and not just sort of say, "Screw it, I'm taking my ball and going home." I can do my Cartman voice from "Screw you guys, I'm going home." Like that kind of thing. I mean, like, that's who this guy is, and that's who Elon Musk is. That's the one wild card I don't think we did fully expect, is that we would have somebody as petulant, as emotionally addled, who apparently is a drug addict and has all sorts of other problems, and he's sitting right there next to him, and he has all this money too. So, but I mean, none of this makes sense. Like, we are causing a man-made recession or depression. We are causing.
He's not much of a man. It's a punk made recession.
How about humanoid-ish?
Yeah, right.
Like sort of semi-upright walking creature, Cro-Magnon caused. I don't know. I mean, the thing is that, again, recessions, there are certain cycles and with the economy, and you're going to have recessions at times for various resources and other reasons. But the thing is that you can lessen those or the blow of those or improve those based upon policies. Well, this guy is going beyond all of that to just take us into a full-blown recession that is entirely unnecessary and not even warranted by anything going on. Our economy was doing amazingly. But, those business Republicans, I hate Trump. I don't like him at all, but like he's got the right policies. Good job, guys. You must be feeling pretty good about yourself right now.
I really think some of the richest people in the country really chose to support oligarchy over the working class. And that's really where we're at. And I think they're starting to regret it because they're like, wait a second. So I get $4.5 trillion worth of tax cuts, but you're going to tank the $50 trillion that the economy's worth. No, thank you. Like I wanted tax cuts, but I wanted the tax cuts in the economy that was stable, not tax cuts in the economy that is crashing. Like, what good does tax cuts do you if you can't even make money? Like,
and the crazy thing is that when times are going really well, if we had our priorities straight, we could give a lot of people tax cuts, and arguably there are certain people we should. None of them are people who have multiple pairs of yacht slippers like Trump's friend. But there have been times where there are certain small business taxes I think could be lowered. I say that as a small businessman. Yeah, I have a bias, but I do. I think that would make small businesses be able to expand better. Obviously, the child tax credit, which is essentially a tax cut, is something we should frickin' quadruple, if not more than that. I mean, there are a bunch of them that should be enacted. Just again, these guys don't have any interest. They don't look at this as like a big policy grid in a way that like, hey, if we move this over there, we can help these people. We can make this better, for everybody and whatever. They look at it as, what can we do for ourselves? And so it doesn't.
Again, they don't see it worth it because to loop back around to how much the average person makes on Social Security for Elon Musk to just be like, yeah, we're going to eliminate that because in his mind, he's thinking, what's the difference? It's only $62 a day. He is thinking there's no way someone has any value in $62 because, because he doesn't understand it's the only $62 that they have.
Because that was like the cost of one of his hair plugs alone.
Oh,
$62.
It was the cost. It was the cost of the sheath that went over the tweezers that they used to implant the hair plug. Okay,
exactly.
Right.
I mean, you just put up a perfect example. So there are some issues I know better than others. I did a lot of work with Social Security Works. Maybe I have to get my friend Alex Lawson back on here. Who runs one of the best run organizations in DC and fought off cuts numerous times. So this just happens to be an issue I know really well. Well, we have an entirely regressive tax on Social Security. I believe now it goes up to about 170 something thousand. I don't know what the current, it raises with inflation. How much of your Social Security is taxed, and then it stops.
You mean how much of your income is taxed for Social Security?
How much? Well, how much of the Social Security?
Yes,
are taxed. Why? Why would you tax the first 170 something thousand that everybody makes when that's more than most people make? In fact, it's triple, quadruple, whatever. So what you're doing, in the end, what you're doing is you've got this regressive tax. If we were to reform Social Security, the easiest thing in the world would be we're going to flip it. I mean, basically, and just say from now on,
anyone over a certain amount, they're paid.
Here's what I would do. I would say we are not taxing. You want to give people a huge tax cut, and you want to give them one to people that will spend that money and it would help the economy. I mean, you and me, we want to, not Trump because he doesn't want to do anything that helps anybody, but make it $250,000. Have not $1 taxed up to $250,000, $1 Social Security taxed. You get the entire damn thing. There's no reason you should be paying $1 on it. And everybody above $250,000 on all of their dollars, we now start instituting some tax rates, particularly for billionaires at the top, and what percent of their Social Security we should take, which they seem to hate it so much. I say we just take the whole thing from them.
Well, the other thing,
they don't need it. They don't like it. Let's take it from. Seriously, I mean,
The other thing that he spoke about in this clip, not just that that we need to eliminate the entitlements, and he means Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Right,
for
which
sure.
you used correctly. That was one of the things that we worked hard on when I was doing consulting for Social Security Works, was getting people to call them earned benefits.
They are earned benefits,
right? Because yes, not just getting them to call it that, because we thought it was a fun name. Getting them to call it that because that's exactly what the fuck they are.
Right. So in this clip, he talks about entitlements, which again, they're not entitlements. He talks about eliminating them. And the reason that he gives is because he says that what it does is it's Democrats giving illegal aliens Social Security to get them to come here and vote for them. And it infuriates me that the average American has no clue that when they go to work and they earn a paycheck, they pay. We are trading our capital, which is labor. That's the capital we have. We are trading it. And in that trade, the United States government says, because you're trading your labor for money, we tax you for Social Security. We tax your labor. So that way, when you can't work, we give you back that tax that we taxed you in the first place, so that we can support the people right now who are not working. That's the social contract we have.
You're correct. Now, right. It's always the generation paying for the next one. We are paying for the people that are retired right now.
Right. But here's the thing. Illegal aliens, if they want to call them that, undocumented migrants that come to this country and work and they trade their labor, they pay tax. They pay the Social Security tax and they pay the Medicare tax. And they don't ever receive the entitlement. And the reason why is because
they're not here. It's not, they're not looked at.
Right.
Legal,
they're not citizens. They cannot receive those earned benefits, even though they pay in.
The lie that he tells is that nobody here undocumented gets Social Security, gets Medicare. They still pay all sorts of other taxes. They're still getting hit by sales taxes and things of that sort. So they're paying plenty, which are regressive as hell, especially in a lot of red states that have, chosen to get rid of the income tax because they're just idiots and they're greedy, the usual. And gee, how are we going to make up for that? Well, of course, it's going to come from somewhere. So what's going to happen is that property taxes and or sales taxes and things like that are going to be through the roof.
Well, I mean, they've already talked about the fair tax, and if anyone's not familiar with when they always like to name these things cute little things like fair tax, meaning it's fair for the billionaires to pay sales tax, because what a fair tax is a national sales tax, and a national sales tax is a tax on poor people.
Right. I was gonna say, it sounds great, so they love to say it because it's like, because I mean, a lot of people react the way, if I didn't know better, I'd react, which is I don't have to sit and fill out all those damn forms I hate filling out. That sounds awesome. But then you realize that the way to accomplish that is to simplify and get rid of a lot of the loopholes we've allowed to be built in, like the carried interest loophole that has Warren Buffett paying, as you've written about and I've written about, less than his secretary.
Right.
You get rid of loopholes and things of that nature. That's how you simplify the tax code. If you get rid of the income tax completely and it becomes a sales tax, rich people, really rich people, don't buy crap because they don't have to. And a lot of the crap they buy, what do they do with that money? International investments, international banks. They end up going or buying a lot of the products they buy internationally because they're mobile. They're not tied to any one country for the most part. That kind of thing. Like, so it doesn't get put back. If you have a high sales tax, who does that hit? The rest of us who actually live somewhere in the United States and go to the grocery store regularly. We don't send, the butler to do it for us and whatever. And we're the ones who get nailed by that stuff all the time. Not the ones that are having the best sushi imported from Japan that night.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, is that a national sales tax is going to affect the lower income brackets.
Oh, crushes you.
Right. At a higher percentage rate than Elon Musk. I mean, Elon Musk, he would shit out enough money in one day to pay his sales tax bill for the entire year. It would take probably someone in the lowest income tax bracket until June to raise enough money on the money they make to pay their entire sales tax for the year.
Right. So that's one of the two ones they try. The other one they always try is the flat tax, because that always sounds really good too. And it's like, yes, flat tax.
Is this for the people who believe the Earth is flat? That they like no, the Earth is flat, so taxes should be.
So
flat.
there's huge overlap there because somehow a lot of the Christian crazies also got really rich. Gee, I wonder if it's like fake like TV evangelism and crap like that. But
right, running their illegal business conglomerates through churches so they don't have to pay taxes.
So they can hide behind that, the First Amendment there. But yeah, the flat tax ends up being, depending on whoever is proposing it, either 1 or 2 tax brackets and no write-offs, no nothing, which again would kill someone like me, who's a small business person, who have all sorts of write-offs because, everything I bought in this office to allow me to do this is a write-off because it allows me to create this business, right? Like, but what they would do is they would have one of the ones that was proposed a couple of years ago was, I think, a 17% rate and like a 34% rate. So that was the way that all the rich, jackwads, they're currently at 39 point whatever, just under 40%. They can get their taxes lowered down to 34%. So they get a huge tax cut, but everybody gets taxed at 17. So guess what happens to the 15% tax cut bracket at the bottom right now?
Right.
They get a tax raise because that's what should be happening to the poorest among us. They should get 2 points added to their. I mean, these people just you always have to look, and this is why I get annoyed when people try to debate any of them in good faith. They're not in good faith. I don't want to go off right now, and I'm certainly too damn tired to, on Gavin Newsom's decision to debate Charlie Kirk. But I may have had that conversation with you, Tony, and I don't remember if it was you or somebody else because I don't remember anything almost from the last week. For all I know, I robbed a bank or something. I hope I did. Then I'm totally set. But I mean, you want to have your podcast. You want to say I'm going to go beyond and talk to voices on the other side. Great. Bring on people that are actual true believers, even if you think they're nuts, but are doing it, are saying what they're saying in good faith. I mean, obviously not all of them. If they're true believers who are Nazis, maybe not. But if you want to have on some people that are true believers on the right. But Charlie Kirk is a transactional a-hole who's just he's a living potato that somehow a body attached itself to a head that's a freaking, Idaho potato. And we got him, and all he cares, in the end, he's just about putting money in his pocket. He's never had a real job. He's lived on right-wing welfare, from the moment he was in college. Like that's not a good faith conversation. And again, I don't want to get all into the thing. I think Gavin Newsom has taken a lot of flack, and he should for that. It was stupid. I'll debate any conservative who I think. Actually, I'll debate any of them. I just won't take it seriously. If it's Charlie Kirk, I'll just go there and start calling him Mr. Potato Head until he tries to swing at me. But I will debate any if it's a conservative in good faith, and there are a bunch of them out there. There are a whole bunch who, a coterie of them who came out and said they were supporting Kamala Harris, and they disagreed with her on lots of things, but they were conservatives, right? And they believed in this and they believed in that. Okay. Those are folks I'll debate as to why I think they're wrong and their issues are stupid, but don't waste your time with bad faith, just people trying to up their own likes, on whatever platform. I mean, it's just stupid.
I have a little bit of a disagreement with you on this one. I think
you want to take it outside.
Yeah, sure. I think that
I can't get up and walk right now. So
I think that Gavin Newsom is doing what politicians should do. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me here.
I disagree with you.
Yes, I know. But there is another person who has been trying this without much success, and his name is Senator John Fetterman. He's been doing some of those same things.
Yeah, but I don't think his is, again, it's how you do it, Tony. It's not doing it. Like, I think I may have had this conversation with you. I would have been fine with Gavin Newsom having a talk with Joe Rogan. Totally fine with that. Because I think
Gavin Newsom's been on Joe Rogan. I think Gavin Newsom has been on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Okay.
But you're talking about Joe Rogan being on his podcast.
I do believe Joe Rogan really believes what he believes. I think he's a schmuck, but I think he's at least arrived at being a schmuck in good faith in that this is what he believes, and I think he's wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'm giving him too much credit. You can't look at Charlie Kirk and tell me that guy believes anything coming out of his. Oh, I don't know if that's a mouth as much as a sort of.
Well, I'll tell you that the difference between my view is the difference between Charlie Kirk and Joe Rogan is Joe Rogan doesn't think any of the things he says out loud through. He just says them out loud because he has.
I think that's true.
But Charlie Kirk definitely 100% thinks through everything he says, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like he thinks those things through. He does think those things through, and he's using.
But he thinks them through for partisan advantage and where his money's coming from.
Exactly.
Right. Like whereas Joe Rogan, I see some people saying stuff in there, and I agree. Like he doesn't believe in anything. He eat bugs for money, is what Cynthia's saying. Yeah, I believe that. But in that way, I do think he'll say what honestly, as you know, as Tony just said, comes to his mind.
Right. Whatever he comes to his mind, he'll say it. Right.
It may be stupid. It may be wrong. In fact, I would argue it 98% of the time is stupid and wrong.
And sometimes it contradicts each other. So one day he'll say one thing because he feels it in the moment, and the next day he's talking to someone different. They're telling him something different. He'll say something different.
But he's not. I don't think he's not sitting there calculating.
It's not contrived, is what you're saying.
It's not contrived. It's not calculation over how will I get that donor to give me more money. Is the difference to me, and that's why and that's the difference.
And that is why I believe that a smooth operator like Gavin Newsom absolutely should be debating someone who contrives their ideology and who tries to convince the country of really harmful stuff. That's why Gavin Newsom should absolutely sit and go to battle, whether it be on a microphone or on a debate stage, in a campaign.
Well, only if you destroy him, though, not if you stand up afterwards and put your arm around him like he's your best friend and take a picture.
Like,
I would have to saw that arm off if I did that. I would never, ever use that arm for anything else.
I actually believe that if Gavin Newsom can play the cards right, which I don't know if he will or not. I don't know. I don't know if Gavin will be the heir to the Democratic throne. It doesn't look like there's much of a throne to be had, if you want to know the honest truth. So maybe he can create the throne. But
I think a throne can be created because I think there needs to be a deposing.
Okay, well, I'll follow you on that one. I smell what you're stepping
I'm
in.
not going to get all into it. I've gotten into it enough lately, but we have a lot of great Democrats. It's not them who are failing us right now. It's our leadership that is.
Right.
And you see it again
and we've talked about before that political movements are co-opted. They're not exactly made by one politician. They're just co-opted by a really good politician. But I will say this, if Gavin Newsom, being the smooth operator that he is, because I think he is a smooth operator, if Gavin Newsom is the nominee for 2028, whoever he were to go against, I think that picture of Gavin Newsom and Charlie Kirk arm in arm is going to be worse for Charlie Kirk than it is for Gavin Newsom. And I think that's the calculation that Gavin Newsom made. Again, I think if
he still has to live out, he still has to get over those pictures of him with his ex, Don Jr.'s ex.
Yeah, Kimberly Guilfoyle.
He's trying to make all those pictures disappear. Now he's got a whole new set of ones he has to make.
Well, but that was before she got her MAGA surgery. I know
that's before she lost her mind.
She got a new set of MAGA
gazumbas. It's a natural sort of what she looked like before, the before and after there.
You mean before her gender reaffirming care? Is that what you're saying?
Something like that. In my in the Substack I keep talking about and sending out today, I'm trying to make it clear what happens when you, like the alt-right, you fully sell out to Putin. So I have a before and after picture of Steven Seagal from when he was a movie star and what he looks like now. Like he's wearing a kimono and it looks like his head has grown 14 sizes. And
they're injecting all that garbage into his face.
It ain't a good look on anybody.
Right. I noticed someone in the comments that Jessica says that Gavin Newsom is anti-trans. And if you go listen to the interview, you actually will discover that he's not anti-trans. That's not what he said. He actually said that his personal opinion of trans athletes competing can be unfair, is what he said. And again, I think this is the problem that we have, is we're trying to navigate things in this left versus right conversation. And I think that's what Gavin Newsom is trying to do, is undermine that we have to have a conversation in red versus blue or left versus right. And I think that's what he's doing. Now, again, I don't think that he did the 100% job that he could have done. There were things that I watched the interview that I thought Gavin could have done, could have said, could have stopped him. But I think the idea that he has and what he's trying to do by doing that, I think in the short term, it feels like Gavin's making mistakes. Okay. But in the long term, I think he's making good.
I'm just saying, I can give you 10 people off the top of my head that I think it would be a great idea. Gave you one already for him to go and debate. And I think it would be interesting. And I think people might watch, and people might watch because, at least I might watch it because I would believe that it was coming from, okay, you're debating somebody that I very much disagree with, but not somebody who's a bought and paid for whore, to the right wing, gravy train. And so that they're just going to say what their paymasters want them to say. Somebody who actually has conservative beliefs, who I believe is wrong on things.
You know who might be really good? And I know this is going to sound wrong at first, but if you think it a little bit, Ann Coulter would be great. And the
actually,
reason
at this point, I think she would be good
because she would tell the honest truth about Trump. She would not hold back. And there would
also tell the honest truth about the right in general.
Right.
And she doesn't care anymore. She's made her millions, and she goes around insulting the right all the time. As much as I think she's a loathsome human being, I do actually believe she says what she thinks at this point. And so she's somebody else that I agree with you. As much as I can't stand her, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, well, I'm calling Gavin if you're listening, or Ann if you guys are listening.
Ann's definitely watching this because she keeps trying to call me and ask me out. And I'm like, look, you look like a 67-year-old exoskeleton. I'm not interested.
I think
a Family Guy episode.
Doesn't Ann Coulter live in California? Doesn't she live in California?
I have no idea. She was living during that period of time when Rush Limbaugh, who now is not sadly dead, lived in.
Hey, he's been drug free for many years. We should all celebrate.
He's kept himself clean. Well, not clean.
Right.
Let's just say
just sober.
There
he's
may
been
be some
sober.
dirt on him. There may be some dirt
he's been
on him.
sober.
Okay, but so when he made the move down to Miami from New York City, because
Texas,
New York City, blah, a bunch of the righties followed him down there to Miami for a while. She was one of them. I know she's really good friends with Bill Maher. Like, they're tight. They've been tight for a long time. They dated at one point, which is enough to almost make me want to hurl.
Did they schlup? Did Bill Maher have
I don't have any
relations with that woman?
I don't have any actual evidence of.
Okay.
That
I didn't know if there's like a sex. I didn't know if there's like a sex tape out there or something.
If you want to know if I know for sure if she rode his hobby horse, my answer is I don't know.
You muted your mic. You muted your mic. Yeah, I think you touched your mic. You touched it. Something about your mic. You unplugged it or something. Now I'm on my own. All right, folks. Oh, there you go. Now you're back. Now you're back. No, I didn't. I mean, I could see how they would date. But I've been paying attention to Ann Coulter and Bill Maher for since I was
forever, because I'm politically incorrect. He was good.
Yeah, it's like 25 years. 25 years he would have Ann on all the time. Maybe that's because they were doing stuff backstage. I didn't know that.
Right. I even liked him when he started off on the HBO show. I had no problem. In fact, I appreciate that he would take stances against what the majority believed. I mean, people forget that he was standing up for gay marriage, and he was standing up for legalizing pot at a time when nobody stood for any of that. Mm-hmm. Right? He was ahead of the curve because he didn't care. And but it seems to me the last 5-6 years, it's been more about, I'm going to take a stand against the left on some of these things. And some of the things he even says when it comes to people getting too offended by jokes and whatever, I agree with. It isn't work. It's not the stuff you spend your time on when fascists are taking over the country. There's an order of priorities.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That might be another good. That might be another good guest for Gavin is Bill Maher. Maybe he could get Bill Maher and
he's been on
Ann
his show,
Coulter
definitely.
in
So
like
I'm
a
sure-
threesome. He could get Ann Coulter, Bill Maher, and him in a threesome. You know what I
And if
mean?
they bring in Elvira, what's her name
Right.
again? It could be a foursome. His ex-wife.
Elvira.
Doesn't she kind of? I don't know. Whatever. Point being, there are other folks, and there are. There have been a number of conservative folks writing for outlets. They haven't changed their positions on issues. I would still argue with them all day, and all night long about things. I think Tom Nichols says a lot of things that I think are wrong. I think Charlie Sykes, who I respect personally, is wrong on a lot of things, but I think they come to their positions honestly. They've both ended up voting for Democrats because they've seen the damage. They've realized that, Republican positions isn't an excuse to vote for a crazy person and a party that enables that crazy person. And I think you can have some conversations with people like that, who disagree with you on issues very easily. But again, I didn't even want to get into this whole Gavin Newsom
Well,
thing.
no, I think it's a good topic. I think democratic discourse and discourse between the sides is a good conversation to have. And the reason why is because we got to stop making arguments left versus right. Yeah, I seen the Christine O'Donnell. She was on Bill Maher's.
Well, I put that up there for a reason. I wrote a column on this once because to me, it was like
on her being on the show or when she ran.
She ran, because it was a moment in time that there've been a couple of them since 2000 that just hit you over the head with where the Republican Party was going, and that moment was as clear as day. Like when I said
this was pre-Sarah Palin, by the way.
Correct. This was 2010. Actually, so it was right after Sarah Palin. But it was
no. But she ran several times before Sarah Palin.
She might have. That's true.
It just Sarah Palin kind of bolstered her kind of race because 2010 was the midterm. That's the other reason why people paid attention. But I think she had ran and lost in the primary, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. And then she won the primary, which is the reason why everyone kind of paid attention to that midterm race. But she was on Bill Maher long before Sarah Palin. So she was her personality.
What I wanted to give you, and I'm having trouble finding the name and it's pissing me off, who she ran against. Hold on.
In 2010?
Yes. And there's a specific reason for this. And this is why I sit here and I'm like, and I say to you, that there are moments in time where I sit there. Mike Castle. There you go.
Okay.
Okay. So here's what you need to know about Mike Castle. From Delaware, classic moderate Republican, the kinds that had been in control. And these two wings lived alongside each other. Whenever people are saying, the Republicans have always been like this, what I point out is they've always had this corrupt, clownish right-wing wing in the party. But there was a vibrant, moderate wing that chaired a lot of committees. And before Newt Gingrich came along, Bob Michel from Illinois was a moderate, and he was their leader in the House. Okay, so you get Mike Castle. He sponsored stem cell research bills, sponsored gun control bills, pro-choice, for gay rights, you just name it. Moderate and all sorts of things, a little more economically conservative. His family had been the Republican Party for generations. He'd been governor of Delaware, and he'd been a congressman, and was running for the Senate seat against her in the primary. Take all of that, and then let me add in the one last part, which to me, I always have found fascinating. Direct descendant of Benjamin Franklin. Okay? So here you have this moderate Republican who had passed numerous legislation, who worked with Democrats, who everybody loved, was like the kind of Republican that you wanted to see the Republican Party be in the image of. And this Ben Franklin fucking, like relative, whatever.
By the way, Ben Franklin would be rolling around at his grave if he knew that his descendants were Republicans, by the way. But
but I think again, that's my point, is it was different at that time, because at that time there still was a vibrant Jeffords, Olympia Snow.
Mm-hmm.
There was a wing that was for all these things we're talking about. I mean, it used to be like, now we're like, there's two.
You mean they weren't assholes just to be assholes? Is
exactly.
What you're saying.
And the way that Murkowski is the only, maybe Collins half the time are pro-choice voters in the Republican Senate caucus. There used to be 20 of them, 25 of them, from all sorts of northeastern and western states, a few midwestern states. Point being that he lost to Christine O'Donnell, who had no experience and had to do a TV ad saying, "I'm not a witch." Okay. To me, when the Ben Franklin guy,
that would win a MAGA primary these days. That would win them the Senate seat. I'm not a witch.
Right. Well, and somebody here saying Mike Castle would be kicked out of the Republican Party. I think he pretty much was. I mean, when he lost that primary, she, you know, when she won, I think the right wingers took over Delaware, because the right wing nuts, you know, only took over in the very conservative states first. In moderate and liberal states, you still had reasonable Republicans in control. And then the right wingers started like spreading like locusts and like taking over the moderate states too. And so that was it for the Mike Castle types. I mean, to me, he's the embodiment of what the Republican Party could have been if they'd gone in that direction instead of choosing the "I'm not a witch" lady.
And I don't think it's the Republican Party who chose this. I think it's the oligarchs that chose that.
Yes, the wealth in the Republican Party, but also the corrupt, certain corrupt members who had the ability and the fundraising ability or willing to do what it took. I mean, Gingrich and McConnell and people like that who kissed the oligarchs' butts. There were others who tried to run against them who were not little oligarch simps, but they couldn't pull it off.
And that's because there used to be actual lowercase L liberals inside the Republican Party.
Correct.
There was conservatives and there were liberals, the same as there was conservative and liberals inside the Democratic Party, but we've grown apart from that. Right. Clip, I have to jump. It's been a great conversation, and I'm glad we got to say we got to talk about syphilis and make David Schuster
about that.
Make David Schuster kind of regret him asking me a question that also he should have
maybe regretting his association with me and joining.
Yeah, exactly. That was fantastic. That was fantastic for me. And I'll text David an apology later. And probably give him the laugh emoji at the same time. But also I love David. But I will say the other thing we got to say is I'm not a witch. We got to say that too. So.
I'm not a witch, and if you haven't ever seen that ad, folks, please go look it up because it's an all-time classic.
It's great, and you should look up her
witch. I mean, just the way she even said it was just hilarious.
And you should look up the interviews where she was on Politically Incorrect Bill Maher, because she's a sideshow on those episodes too. That's how I got to know her so many years before she even ran for Congress.
Well, look at that, Tony. Thank you, Diana. We try.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm always funny. I mean I'm like the funniest person on the internet.
See, he doesn't need me. He can just do it on his own. See, I'm not as arrogant as Tony. I can admit I need him.
I got true confidence is what it's called. Not arrogance, true confidence. See, I'm a stable genius.
Well, in that way, you're sort of like the mayor of StreamYard.
Yeah, but probably. That's right. Maybe the mayor of StreamYard. I'm like the county commissioner. More the county commissioner of StreamYard. So Cliff Schechter,
beware of all those camps out there. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Beware of them.
All right, Cliff Schechter, I'm going to go on that note before you do get in trouble.
Yeah, I'm going to only stay here a couple more minutes to just thank my audience.
All right.
But
audience, Cliff, it's good to see you guys. We'll see you guys soon.
Guys, hey, listen, look, great to be back here. I'm sorry about last week. Not that there was a huge amount I could do about that, but I felt bad because the big Substack launch was and maybe that's what wore me down. 12 hours was pretty incredible. But we got a lot of great video footage, and the Substack blew up over 600,000, which is why I really encourage you to go subscribe. I'll be sending out one today, and I'll make sure to share it with folks in as many places as possible. But we're going to start sending them out every kind of other day, build up to every day, and really there'll be video components. We got New York Times PitchBot has joined us. David Schuster's doing video for it. We're writing columns, and we're giving you kind of the daily information. I'm going to figure out how that's going to affect what I do here, doing a live stream there. I will obviously at least keep doing a live stream here, or two. We'll see what I can fit in, and just trying to make some of these videos. Our most recent video I'm excited about has done really well on Jamie Raskin. I don't know if you guys caught it. I thought I might toss it into the comments, because right now it's doing well, and I would love for it to get some more views and crush it. Let me grab that for you. It's on Raskin taking apart Jim Jordan. If you can't be for that, really, what else can you be for in life? So I want to do some more of that. So of course, trying to keep everything going. And yes, we got a little bit pushed to the side by first that big launch, and then the here's the video, folks, if you could check it out. And then the flu really kicked my butt. But hopefully, oh, thank you. Somebody said that was a really good video with Raskin. Who was that? Michael McAndrews, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate it. That was really kind of you. And let's get this up here. You can get there now through blueamp.substack.com. We also have blueamp.co. We're making sure there's a bunch of different ways to get there, but it's going to be integrated strongly into the Patreon, combining them both. There may be some moves to there's always a lot going on. Let's put it that way. And we're trying to balance a number of things. It didn't help that that since really a week, almost, I've been down for the count. But I'm going to try to keep getting you guys good content. I have every intention of being back here tomorrow for another one of these. And if I can only make it for an hour and 15 minutes tomorrow, then that's what I'll do tomorrow. But we do what we can, So thank you for being here. And the only other thing I have to say is, well, no, I can't say who's coming with me, because I got to thank the folks who already did come with me. Sue Moreau, thank you so much for the $1.99 super sticker. Very much appreciated. Sheldon Hughes, my man, for always, thank you for your usual, he even is now referring to it as his usual $2 donation. Gregory Brown, this is going to be 4 years of making excuses again. He said this, but meant that he failed, but it was someone else's fault again. Yes, that's Donald Trump could never admit, and neither can Elon Musk, that they're guilty of doing anything wrong, even though they do pretty much everything in life wrong. So everything always has to be somebody else's fault. It's Biden's fault. It's Obama's fault. And their own people around them they throw under the bus. So wait for that. But thank you so much. The $20 is hugely helpful. ET, my friend, expressing outrage at the destruction of your country from within writing, I'm not sure, is tiring. So get some rest and hope to see you on Thursday. Well, I'm going to plan to be here tomorrow too, if I can. But it'll just be a short one like this. Like this, just maybe a week of shorter ones. If I can't, I'll make sure you all know. It is tiring being outraged. It is tiring fighting back against these guys, doing streams, writing articles, on social, wherever. But, we all got to do what we got to do. Sheldon, for the swear jar, $5. Thank you. Those swears, plus me mentioning that those evil words that have to do with disease may get me in trouble. We'll see. I'm kind of interested. But I also was sort of at a point where I'm tired and I don't care. I was going to say. Francie, thank you for the $3 super sticker. Outstanding. Thank you. Oh, we got more people jumping in. I really appreciate it. Lefty Gramps with $2. Thanks so much. And Lefty Gramps and Devin, if I am correct, you can tell me if I'm wrong, are both paid subscribers at Substack. And I really appreciate that, because we're going to start upping our paid subscriberships there too, where you'll get to have a lot of sort of famous people interviews and extra content and really cool stuff. You'll get all the basics for free, but we're going to really try to add some of a lot of extra features and create a ton of content there. Belfast Bob, new member, thank you. Thanks for joining. We love it. Love to have you here. Petrazi, my friend, another month down, right? Another month down. And you're still here, still a member. Thank you. And Kelly Star, $10 super chat. Thank you for being awesome. Well, if I am indeed awesome, I give my parents most of the credit. I'm just doing what I'm doing. Should I switch from Patreon to Substack? Diana Monterez. Yeah, that's what I would say at this point. I feel bad because I push people from YouTube to Patreon, but I'm going to be sending an email to everybody at Patreon. I just think having everybody in one place, getting YouTube members and Patreon members at Substack, and having a paid option where I can give you everything, not just the video, but the written stuff, and then also the stuff from our other contributors, from Schuster and New York Times PitchBot and other people. Just to have it all in one place will make life easier. So yeah, if you can switch over, if that's cool with you, again, I will take subscribers at YouTube, subscribers at Patreon. I appreciate everybody. But Substack is where I'm really going to be pushing both unpaid and paid subscribers, because we can have it in one place, and it just makes this all a lot easier. And and Lefty Gramps said more content there, and there will continue to be. So that is it. I went even longer than I thought, an hour and 20 minutes. I appreciate you guys being here, and I will do my best to be here tomorrow. But in the meantime, as they say, or I say, as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell. Have a great evening, guys. I appreciate your being here. I appreciate your support.